When it gets really cold and the temperatures plummet, there's always one fish you can rely on in these freezing conditions, and that's the beautiful grayling. We headed down to the River Frome in the beautiful Dorset countryside to try catch a big grayling. That river hasn't got the numbers of grayling as some of the other southern chalk streams have, but they're usually of a better stamp and absolutely stunning fish. The session started off with perfect grayling conditions. We had a real hard frost that night. It was, I think it was -3 where we were, and there was a lovely frost all over the fields, and it was picture perfect grayling conditions. There was a very thick mist, like a fog, and it was stunning. Unfortunately, there was a big turnaround come about midday. High pressure moved in, the sun came out, and it actually warmed up considerably. So it wasn't ideal, but it started off perfect. Our aim was to cover a lot of water. We wanted to fish a number of different swims and try to locate these fish. First few swims we tried were actually at the top of the stretch, and unfortunately it was tough going. So nothing on those first couple of trots, so try a bit deeper now. Keep playing with the length of the actual rig. See, I think that's a bit too deep. Just want to ease that. Just making it slightly more shallow. Yeah. Keep on baiting up, little and often. That's the key. Let's put it there into that float and get a bit of bait around it as it goes down. This swim here looks absolutely perfect. Got a nice depth, nice steady pace of water. Which is what you're looking for. The other swim was got a bit of water coming through at the moment. It's a tiny bit coloured. There you go, we're in straight away. Oh, good fish as well. Oh. Good fish that. Could have been a trout though. So I'm not gonna cry about it. It was quite a funny session, really. We managed to bump a big grayling on one of the swims, which felt like a decent fish, which was very unfortunate. But you know, grayling with their bony mouths and being such wiry fish, they tend to shed the hook. So you usually expect a couple of losses when you actually hook into these fish. Yeah, good fish. We lost that fish, and then in that same swim, just a bit further up, managed to catch a salmon, an out-of-season salmon, a small one, which put up a great fight. Amazing when you hook them. Not that we were after them, not targeting them, but when you do hook them on those, you know, in those fast-flowing chalk streams, they put up a great fight, and that was a nice surprise, and it was welcome. We quickly unhooked him, got him straight back into the water, no messing about, the delicate fish, and yep, we got him straight back. The Acolyte Plus float rod in 14 foot is perfect for chalk stream grayling fishing. These rivers, they're not very wide, so you don't need a really long rod, but 14 foot is perfect to just get that ideal line lay and getting that float exactly where you want it. And it's just got such a great action when you hook a fish. And with grayling having very bony mouths, it's really important that you've got that action so that you don't get a hook pull, which they are notorious for doing. I like to use a reel line of 4.4 pound. That's the Drennan float fish line. 4.4 is heavy enough to deal with large, hard fighting grayling. It doesn't sink, so being on the surface, it's perfect for trotting. When the line sinks, you can get a big bow and that can drag the float. So it's all about presentation. It's all about ensuring that that float is flowing down the current naturally, and that line really helps you to achieve that. When it comes to floats, you have to use the right float for the job, and I like to use a 3.6 gram Drennan loafer float. It sounds heavy, but you need that float. You need that buoyancy so that the line can pull off the centre pin, and you're fishing very turbulent water, so you need that buoyancy in a float. And that's simply attached to the main line via a couple of float rubbers, and so that's fully adjustable. That's also very important because you're adjusting the float all the time to suit the swim. You really want to fish over depth until that float goes under, and then you can just edge it up so that you're fishing just above bottom. I have caught grayling up in the water. You can get them feeding, so try all different depths, and that's what I do. So that's fully adjustable. That underneath the float, I have a float stop and then a 3.5 Olivet, and that's sandwiched together between two float stops. That's the bulk shot effectively. That's the dropper shot, and you know that's going to cock the float perfectly so that you've just got the tip showing. Underneath that, I like to tie a micro swivel. Now that micro swivel is my dropper shot for my hook link. And then what I like to do is use a 3 pound Supplex line, which is my hook link. The actual hook link has a figure of 8 loop at the top, and you could just pull that through the swivel, pull the hook through the loop, and then you have a changeable hook link. So I like to keep a few made up in my pouch, and if you get snapped off, you can just replace them really quickly. At the business end, I like to use a Camazan B983 hook. It's very thin in the wire, and that is really important to have that pattern of hook. But grayling have really bony mouths. They're notorious for throwing hooks, and they're very difficult fish to land once hooked. The Camazan hooks, they're thin in the wire. They really penetrate the mouth, and my catch ratio has gone through the roof after using them. They're fantastic hooks. I like to use them in a size 16 if it's clear. If there's a bit of colour in the water, I'm not too worried about going down to a size 14, which may sound large, but again, these are big grayling we're fishing for. I do love my grayling fishing. I love the style of fishing, and I also love where it takes you around the country. You normally end up in some of the nicest British countryside that we have to offer, and I've been fortunate enough to catch some lovely grayling from up in Yorkshire and from down in Dorset on the Frome. So, you know, it's not just about the species and the fish, it's about where you catch them. Usually idyllic, clear chalk streams that run through some amazing countryside. Little grayling. Feels like a nice fish. Pretty sure it's not trout, mate. It's down deep. Not the biggest grayling, but we spent most of the day trying to locate some fish, and finally we found some. But lovely fish. Grayling, they're such delicate fish, and the best thing to do to get them back is to hold them upright in the current, facing up, and then just give them time. But once you right them, they tend to get their power back, and then good as gold. Bait for big grayling, I always go to maggots. I like to use white maggots and red maggot as well. Both seem to be very effective. I think another underused bait for grayling, and has caught me a few decent fish, is sweetcorn. I do find that the sweetcorn tends to pick out the bigger fish, which is great, and I don't know how true it is, but there's been mention of them being similar to salmon eggs, which is obviously what the grayling feed on at certain times of year, so it's definitely worth trying that out. I've even experimented with Scopex flavoured sweetcorn, a sort of orange colour, and I think that replicates salmon eggs quite nicely. But you know, whatever it is that attracts them to it, it definitely works, and it's a great bait for grayling. Come on. Good. Oh. Yeah, this feels like a good one. Oh, it's right down the end there. Oh, get in. Yes, it's a better one. Beautiful grayling. A lot of work today trying to locate the fish, but found a pod of them. Lovely fish.